I'm KaDee Strickland. I'm here presenting the award to our show for Did You Hear What Happened to Charlotte King? Charlotte King is a character I play on Private Practice, and this season we explored what a woman goes through when she's been sexually assaulted and violently sexually assaulted at her workplace, which is what my character experienced. And then we see the aftermath of what Charlotte experiences and how she picks herself back together. The thing that I'm most proud of with this episode is that after it aired, the National Sexual Assault Hotline had traffic over 500%, and actually the online website crashed. And when I understood what that means to people that need to see their stories told and how well articulated Shonda Rhimes wrote this episode and this arc for the character, it's changed my life.
When Shonda Rhimes, the show's creator, when she presented me with the fact that this was going to happen, I was absolutely thrilled and honored because I understood immediately the impact it could have for survivors and people coming forward.
One of the beautiful things about being here tonight is the Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network are going to present to Oprah Winfrey, and they helped me research for the part, so it just feels a bit serendipitous, this whole experience. The wonder of working on Private Practice is we have a great team of people behind us, and if you want to research something and make that effort, they will make sure it happens. And what they did is they connected me with the Rape Foundation, the National Sexual Assault organization, RAINN. Both of those people worked with me very closely, so I was able to go to the Rape Treatment Center here and experience what it is to go through those rooms and see images that pretty much stay with anyone that sees them. And I was also able to work with survivors. The entire season they made themselves available to me, so 24/7 I had real people to call, to lean into, to ask, does this make sense in the storyline for this character? Do you understand these feelings? Do you think people in the audience will? I do really believe that the reason people related to this so much is they've lived with Charlotte for years, and this woman completely became a different person and had to find herself again. So I think that's what's supremely important about it. To let people in on something with a core character is a very different experience than bringing in a patient to the hospital on our show and it being a passing storyline. You really got to live it out, and I think there's no better way to tell a story than to do it that way, and that's exactly what Shonda and the writers did.
The thing that makes me so proud of it is I believe it's a very truthful account, and I think so many people struggle with this, and some don't come forward, for a long time, but there is help and there is hope, and I think there's so much of that conveyed in the way Shonda has orchestrated the rest of the season, and I think that I'm thrilled to be a part of it. The thing that I learned the most, I worked with RAINN, the Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network, very closely. They contacted survivors, they put me in touch with them that were survivors of very brutal attacks, which is what I went through here. And the thing that is so wonderful, and you understand, is these people want their stories told. Survivors need to see this lived out and played out in a truthful way, and I think when you work as closely as we did with RAINN, there's no way to avoid getting the cold hard truth and to work from that place, and that was very, very important to us. And the thing is, those women, Joni Stewart and Marnie Goodfriend, that I worked with directly through the organization, are the bravest human beings. They have wonderful lives, families, great careers. I mean, these girls have it together, and that can happen, and I think that's what's amazing.
In this week's episode of Private Practice, that you will come to find out that Charlotte was in fact raped in her office, and not just violently beaten, and as she puts it, robbed, but she was truly robbed. And I think, Shonda has done, our creator of our show, has done a tremendous job with telling the story of a survivor and legitimizing that experience through this attack. And I think a lot of people are going to be very moved by what she's done here, and I think it's very important, and I think no one can take for granted just what a huge issue this is in our country, because it happens every 2 minutes. Someone's attacked, and when you think about that, our show's an hour long. That's 30 people. From a standpoint of a woman who has known and loved people that this has happened to, and in fact, a friend of mine went to trial during the filming of this episode. When that all comes into play, you really understand why, when you're a kid and you want to be an actor, you get this job and you get to do something this special. It's remarkable, remarkable gift. So I was really, really pleased.
Watching the episode was very surreal. I think any actor kind of has a moment of watching themselves. It's hard. This was so not about me, for me. It was about sitting down with my husband and having it affect him in that way. Talking to my parents, and to see their response to that reality was pretty amazing, because they really got taken in the story, and that's when I felt pretty good about what we were doing.
In terms of having knowledge of personally being connected to people, I do believe everyone does. I mean, you are just so hard-pressed to not know someone. You may not know it about them, but that's also part of the advantage of telling the story. If it, for one person, and I know it already has, I mean, I know it already has, helped people report, helped people get help, then that's extraordinary to me. I mean, that's amazing, and I know that my girlfriend was very proud we were doing this, and I'm just proud she's proud. She was such an opportunity to do good, and I really believe we will, and when I read it, I was just knocked out. I mean, it's so special.
I get paid to do what I love, and that is a remarkable truth in my life, but that's never been more important to me and more meaningful and more moving than the day that I learned that after that particular episode aired, the traffic for the National Sexual Assault Hotline was increased by over 500%. So thank you. So to that, you know, this is what getting to do what you love can bring to people's consciousness. And I would also not be standing here without the absolute trust and humanity of Shonda Rhimes and the writing staff that continued this storyline with a vengeance, and my beautiful cast and my beautiful crew who created an environment of freedom and trust that there are no words for. Also, the special effects makeup department, as you saw, did a tremendous job. For the producers and for ABC for taking a storyline for one of the major characters, you know, one of the core group this happened to. It wasn't a passing fancy. It was a reality that the season continued, and I am so proud of that. And beyond that, I have to thank my love, my partner, who's here with me tonight, Jason, for holding my hand and watching this episode with me and staying in this process with me in such a graceful way. And I just, again, thank you all for the work you do, because it does change lives, it gives hope, and it allows people to take action. And I think that's why we all want to do this. It changes lives. So thank you so much.
Read the first image, which is exactly the first image you see that Allison Liddy Brown captured, which is the fingernail. And the script was so perfectly detailed. I knew exactly how to breathe in a scene. I can tell you about what the research process was. And when I say research, I mean going to the Rape Treatment Center. Gail Barbanel, who runs the center and has for 30 years.
They contacted me about meeting with the writers when they were starting to formulate the episode, and then it became more than one episode storyline. And I really am grateful that they portrayed the reality of rape, which is never over in one episode.
We wanted to do it right, and we didn't want to do it in a way that felt gratuitous.
They did such a great job of portraying what the real injury of rape is, which often victims call, you know, a broken soul or a wounded soul. And KaDee really portrayed that in an incredibly powerful way.
Gail took me through the room so that I understood what a room where rape kits were performed looked like. In addition to that, the wonderful writers here had worked with Gail as well, but they had also put me in contact with RAINN, which is the Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network.
We really worked to make sure that they got the most accurate information about the impact of trauma on the survivor and how that experience really manifests itself. And actually we're able to work with KaDee in connecting her with survivors in the RAINN Speakers Bureau so that she could model her portrayal after them as accurately as possible.
KaDee, she came in the first day and she made a little speech to the crew, which I found very, you know, loving.
When you statistically look at 1 in 4 women, 1 in 33 men, There are people in the room that have experienced this or have people close to them that have experienced rape and sexual assault. So I was very open, as was everyone else, and just said, look, if you need to step away, if it gets too much, step away, unless you need to fundamentally be here. Like, we all love each other, we all know what we gotta do, and we're all gonna do it well.
That's an actress. That's an actress.
There was an atmosphere of respect, great respect on the set.
Less people that know your business, the better. I get it.
I knew how good KaDee was because I'd been working with her so much, but she was so deeply connected, which is really hard to do when you've been in, getting prosthetics put on you for 3 hours, and you're trying to figure out exactly at what stage of healing you are, so how you physically move and what emotional point you'd be at. She was still very, very able to be in the moment, which is, what it's all about.
She just went there. I know it really, from what she said, was a very important experience for her. As a person, as an artist, going to places she hadn't been before. It was a really big deal, and I think it showed.
We had a conversation before we started filming, and I said, listen, not for 1 minute do you let this get precious, because this cannot be. I don't want anyone that's lived through this to watch this and to feel like we haven't honored the experience.
I said, if there's going to be any crying, it's going to be me, and it's going to be the audience. But it's not going to be you. She was like, absolutely.
They did not let Paul see me until he saw me on screen.
Kind of a lot of cloak and dagger stuff about getting her around stage and hiding her from me.
That's why it felt so real, because Paul was just open to what was happening in front of him.
Seeing KaDee did it so beautifully, the physical damage to her body was such that she couldn't really move. When I did take her shirt off, she was all bruised.
Like, it's interesting because it was the wound that he had not seen. That really took him to a place that was heartbreaking for me.
For loving me. Take me home.
She fought him. She's 90 pounds soaking wet, but she's a fighter.
From what I understand, there was a huge response after the public service announcement that they did for RAINN.
As a result of KaDee's work portraying Charlotte, she has become incredibly involved with RAINN and is now advocating for survivors of sexual violence on a national level. She's become a part of our National Leadership Council and is raising funds to ensure that victims of sexual violence will be connected to the help that they deserve when they need it most.
She has become incredibly passionate about it. She's gone to Washington, D.C. to speak about it, and she's just become a real champion and spokeswoman sort of for that.
Any time that someone who has the power to draw media attention to something of public importance and they use it for the power of good, it's a great thing. And I'm glad for KaDee that she found her voice about that particular issue.
It's a profound thing to experience when people just say thank you. They say nothing more. They walk up to you and say thank you, and you know what that means. And I think all of us have had certain moments, that we've been thanked. But for me in particular, it's why I do this. And not every actor, and I mean this in all sincerity, you don't always get to feel of service. And to me, that's what storytelling's. Truly, when it's doing its best thing, that's what it's all about. So to have that and to connect to people about something that means so much to them and means so much to me has been the greatest thing that I've probably ever done as an artist.
Don't let me fall.
I won't.
Every 2 minutes, someone in America is sexually assaulted. The attack may last just moments, but the effects can last a lifetime. There is help through the National Sexual Assault Hotline. Call 1-800-656-HOPE or visit RAINN.org. You don't need to go it alone, and it's never too late to get help.